All right, good afternoon, everyone. I know you guys are very excited to hear the verdict as far as what's what and what's playing. So, without further ado, I actually want to first, before I do that, I want to answer a question that someone left me on my thread. Someone wanted me to know how would I characterize the differences between Luxman and other heavy hitters. Essentially, what are we giving up by going with the Luxman and not the expensive brands? That's a great question. I think what you're giving up is number one, the better bass control that a unit like the Momentum would have, or even the Gryphon would have, or Constellation would have. Bass control is better on the more expensive amplifiers. I also think that you would give up some dynamics, although the Luxman has dynamics. It doesn't have the same dynamics and explosiveness as a Gryphon would, or a agostino would, or Constellation would, and that's expected, guys. I mean, these amplifiers have more of a robust power supply. They have a better, there's more budget in those amplifiers, right? It allows for a better construction internally, even though the Luxman is built incredible. I mean, it's by no means a $50,000 amplifier. And I still believe, and I'm going to say it again, the number one amplifier for me, for the money, is the Luxman 900U. Still the best amplifier for the money, in my book. But those are the main two things that you give up. All right? Now, I know you guys wanted to know what are the three components that played. And before I do that, I also want to say my selection, which one I chose and why. So I selected component number 3. Why is that? I felt like everything was more tonally right. It was more balanced. Did it have the best bass? No. I thought number 2 had better bass control than number 3. Did it have all the clarity possible? No. I thought clarity-wise, maybe the first had a little more of a clear feeling to it in terms of sound. But it overall, number 3 just seemed to sound better, blend better. It was the right amount of information for me, the right amount of sweetness, the right amount of vocal. And although the bass wasn't perfect, I was content enough to not even pay attention to it. Still had the bass, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't at the level of perhaps number 2. I still think number 2 had the best bottom end out of the bunch, and that's what I heard in my room. What do I think overall about number 2? Number 2 had, in my opinion, kind of like an extra level of obscurity to it. I felt like it was a little obscure. I felt like it didn't have the same amount of, not information. It had the information, but it was almost a little just. It wasn't as clear. It had things missing in terms of the clarity and the resolution. It almost felt at times a little slower, I would say, and not as focused. That's a word that I can use for this. But it had, again, the best grip on the woofers was number 2 by far. No question about it. And number 1, I thought it sounded clearer or cleaner than the other 2. I did think it had a little more extra, a feeling of depth that perhaps the other 2 lacked. But we don't know. Is that true to the source? Is that how it's supposed to sound? Is it not supposed to sound that way? I don't know. But it did have a deeper sound, number 1, and clarity. But number 1, in my opinion, did not have the same bottom end control as number 2 did. And I felt like it had too many gaps to declare it the winner. I thought number 3 had the least amount of gaps with the music. Gaps in terms of what was missing or what could potentially have been better. With that said, the winner of this shootout, in my opinion, is number 3. And number 3 was Luxman 900U. That preamplifier, in my opinion, won the shootout. All right. And in shootout number one was the HD. Momentum HD is number one. That leaves number two as the Ayre KXR20. I want to say something to you guys. This goes to prove to you all how money doesn't mean anything when it comes to system matching. I used the cheapest preamplifier out of the three and used it with my Gryphon, and the cheapest preamplifier won in my book. Sounded better, tonally right, as I mentioned earlier. Right? We all agree. I think a lot of you agree with that. So just because I went out there and bought a more expensive preamplifier didn't really mean that I was beating on my cheaper preamplifier. And I just proved that to myself and to you all. So the point I'm trying to make is the reason why I went out there and got the Ayre 20 is because I've heard it was an excellent pre. It had a lot. It's just an incredible piece of equipment. And it is. It really is. But in my room, in my current situation, it doesn't do anything better than my 900U does. It doesn't really even, in my opinion, battles it. It doesn't even battle the 900U in my room without even using the matching preamplifier. The matching amplifier, I'm sorry. So that's something that you all need to think about next time you buy a component. The more expensive does not necessarily result in better findings, in a better experience. It does not mean the more expensive, the better it will be when it comes to matching. And in addition to that, what I wanted to say, guys, was that the 900U preamplifier, I think, is now worthy of me using it against basically using it with my Coliseum and do a shootout of 900U preamplifier, Coliseum amplifier against Momentum setup. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts with that? I think that's something you all would love to see, right? What I can tell you is this, though, and let's break it down. If that shootout came to fruition, let's break it down, right? Let's see what it entails. All right, so let's talk about the components. So $50,000 Coliseum plus a $15,000 900U preamplifier equals $65,000. Okay, and then the Momentum setup is $70,000 for both pieces. But there's something you guys are not thinking about, and I know you all are going to be, well, that's great, 65 against 70, right? We want to see what really is happening here. There's something you guys are missing, and I almost missed it myself. This amplifier happens to be connected with a $9,500 power cord. So add that to the retail, to the MSRP price. This preamplifier happens to be connected with a $12,000 power cord. Add that, because that has to be part of the exercise, right? So that brings it to what? 65 plus 95, 74,500 plus another 12, $86,000. Call it $86,000. So that's an $86,000 setup. The DAC is going to be the same on both, so we're not going to count it. It's $86,000 setup against a $70,000 setup. I'm using the stock power cords on this. I'm going to use what comes in the box. Why? I'm going to tell you why I'm going to use the stock power cords in a later video. For now, you guys just need to know why I'm using the power cords these units come with. I'm going to share that with you, that information later, because I've already done some experimentation with other power cords. So 86 against 70, right? That's the right math. So we're about to see what you get. Coming soon will be that shootout of the Momentum against the Gryphon and 900U. You guys are going to hear two totally different presentations. They couldn't be more different, but also extremely right in many ways. They could, in my opinion, it is probably the most difficult decision I have to make. I already heard these two yesterday. I heard them yesterday for like 3.5 hours, 4 hours. It is one of the most difficult things to do for me because I love both at the same time. I really do. And it would be more a matter of not what sounds best, but more about what can I live with the longest and enjoy long term. That really is the question. Okay? And that will be coming probably on my next video. So yes, guys, I will continue to use the 900U preamplifier just for now. It is up for sale, guys. I have it listed online. If you look around, you'll find it. My 900U preamplifier and amplifiers are for sale, listed currently. And again, I just proved to you all how magic that C900U is. Okay? With proof. Not reading magazine reviews, not going around reading, what he said, she said. I did it for you all here. Right? So I wanted to prove it to myself and to you all as well. So stay tuned for the next video. Next video we'll have videos. We'll have a nice shootout, hopefully, unless something changes. I plan to do this Friday. Big shootout. The 900 momentum is going to the momentum setup is going against Gryphon Coliseum and Luxman. Okay, I don't think it's ever been done online again. I don't think, honestly, you guys will ever see it at a show. So I don't care where you guys go. You're not going to see that anywhere else. And I want to keep bringing this type of shootouts to you, for you guys to hear and see. And hopefully you guys, some of you can hear a difference. I know I'm using not the perfect microphone, but I'm sure you guys have been able to hear the difference. If you have at least decent headphones to use at home, you can probably still make out the differences between both, because that's the feedback I've been getting. And I will continue to do this so you guys can keep getting a lot of great stuff in here. I'm not here to do other things that some other channels do, which is share with you different topics or take apart things, or I'm not here for that. I want to make this fun. I want you all to see fun equipment that most of you will probably never see locally, and you only read in magazines about, for you guys to just see it in action and hear it and feel like you're here with me as best as possible. And if you ever are in town near South Florida, please let me know. I'm going to actually start including my email on the videos. You should be able to see it right now, so that if you guys have any questions, you guys can email me, and I'm going to try to respond as many as possible. And that way we have a way of communicating each other outside of YouTube. All right? Stay tuned, guys, and please subscribe.